You know who I'd love to make another film with? John Wayne.
Why?
Throughout Angie Dickinson's lifetime, she has experienced deep pain and hurt. These feelings have followed her into her old age because they are almost impossible to shake off. Now, here's something that would surprise you. Those pains weren't caused by the consequences of any of her actions, but they were caused by 5 men. And now, at 93 years old, she's speaking up about the betrayals and the kind of emotional wounds that not even time could heal. Prepare yourself, because in this video, we'll be revealing the 5 men Angie Dickinson named that she hates. Come along? Angie Dickinson's formative years. The foundation of Angie Dickinson's remarkable career began in the small town of Culm, North Dakota. Born Angeline Brown on September 30th, 1931, few could have predicted that the middle daughter of a small-town newspaper publisher would become one of Hollywood's most enduring stars. Angie was born into a German-American family, with parents Frederica and Leo Henry Brown, the family surname originally being Braun. As the second of 3 daughters, young Angeline, called Angie by family and friends, grew up in a home where creativity and communication were valued. Her father wore multiple professional hats, working as both the publisher and editor of local newspapers, including the Culm Messenger and the Edgeley Mail. Angie Dickinson has always been classy, cool, and calm, but even icons have their limits. At 93, she's finally opening up about the 5 men who pushed her buttons the most. Don't blink, because number 1 might just blow your mind. The seeds of Angie's future entertainment career were planted early when her father took on an additional role as the projectionist at Culm's only movie theater. This early exposure to films sparked a lifelong passion. Angie fell in love with movies and the magic of Hollywood from a tender age. When the town's theater burned down, it affected her deeply. Reportedly, she cried for an entire week. Life changed dramatically for the Brown family in 1942 when they relocated to Burbank, California. At just 10 years old, Angie left behind the rural landscapes of North Dakota for the sunshine and proximity to the entertainment industry that Southern California offered. Though the move was significant, family accounts suggest it may have been precipitated by her father's drinking problem, with her mother making the decision to uproot the family. In Burbank, Angie attended Bellarmine Jefferson High School, where she distinguished herself academically. In December 1946, as a senior, she won the prestigious 6th Annual Bill of Rights contest. Her intelligence and writing ability pointed toward a potential career path. Following in her father's footsteps, she initially dreamed of becoming a writer. Academically gifted, Angie graduated high school in 1947 at just 15 years old. She continued her education at Immaculate Heart College in Los Angeles and Glendale Community College, eventually completing her business studies by 1954. Throughout this time, she maintained practical employment, working as a secretary at Lockheed Air Terminal in Burbank, now Bob Hope Airport, from 1950 to 1952. Angie's path to stardom took an unexpected turn when she entered a local preliminary for the Miss America pageant in 1953, just 1 day before the registration deadline. Though she didn't win the competition, her second-place finish caught the eye of a casting agent. This fortuitous moment redirected her career aspirations from writing to entertainment. Following the beauty contest, she received an opportunity that would introduce her to the entertainment world, a spot as one of 6 showgirls on The Jimmy Durante Show. Shortly thereafter, she appeared on a TV show called Beauty Parade, where she won competitions for the week, month, and finally, the year. The exposure brought her to the attention of a television industry producer who suggested she consider acting as a career. Taking this advice to heart, Angie studied the craft while making appearances on NBC variety shows, including the Colgate Comedy Hour. During this period, she met Frank Sinatra, who would become a lifelong friend and later, as we know from the introduction, one of the men she would develop complicated feelings toward. In 1952, she married football player Gene Dickinson, taking his surname, which would become her professional moniker throughout her career. Though the marriage didn't last, the name Angie Dickinson became synonymous with a unique blend of intelligence, strength, and allure that set her apart from other actresses of her era. Angie's formal acting debut came on New Year's Eve 1954 in an episode of Death Valley Days. This initial role opened doors to a steady stream of television appearances. Throughout the mid to late 1950s, she appeared in numerous TV shows, including Matinee Theater, 8 episodes, Buffalo Bill Jr., City Detective, Gunsmoke, The Virginian, Tombstone Territory, Cheyenne, and The Restless Gun. Her film career began modestly with a small, uncredited role in the Doris Day film Lucky Me, 1954. Several minor roles followed in quick succession: Man with the Gun and The Return of Jack Slade in 1955, and Hidden Guns in 1956. Her first starring role came in 1956's Gun the Man Down, alongside James Arness, followed by China Gate in 1957. Unlike contemporaries such as Marilyn Monroe or Jane Mansfield, Angie established her own unique persona. Determined to forge her own path, she refused to become another platinum blonde sex symbol, instead allowing her brunette hair to be dyed only to a honey blonde shade. Her performances in westerns and B-movies during this period, particularly her femme fatale role in Cry Terror, 1958, showcased her versatility and growing talent. The watershed moment in Angie's career arrived in 1959 with her role as Feathers in Howard Hawks's classic western Rio Bravo. Cast opposite her childhood idol John Wayne, along with Dean Martin, Ricky Nelson, and Walter Brennan, Angie portrayed a feisty gambler with intelligence and sex appeal. This performance earned her a Golden Globe Award for Best Newcomer and established her as a formidable talent in Hollywood. Rio Bravo demonstrated Angie's unique appeal. She combined brains and beauty, style and independence. As noted in the book, Swingin' Chicks of the 60s, the film made her a star and confirmed her strengths as a spunky, beautiful, self-assured woman who wasn't intimidated by a cast full of tough guys. Combining brains and beauty, style and independence, she's always managed to convey both sexiness and strength in her movies. Following this breakthrough, Angie became one of the most sought-after leading ladies of the 1960s. Her subsequent roles included appearances in The Bramble Bush with Richard Burton and Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra. Her unique screen presence, described as a kind of hipster chick primacy in the rarefied cloister of swinging, swanky showbiz royalty, made her a Hollywood star unlike any other. Rather than attempting to shed her sex symbol status, which would later be cemented when Universal Studios insured her legs for $1 million in 1963, Angie instead used it to her advantage. Throughout her early career, she both defied and exceeded expectations, establishing herself as an actress whose appeal went far beyond mere physical attributes. As the 1960s progressed, Angie continued building her reputation through performances in films like The Sins of Rachel Cade, Jessica, Captain Newman, M.D., The Killers, The Art of Love, and The Chase. These roles paired her with some of Hollywood's most prominent leading men, including Marlon Brando, Gregory Peck, Ronald Reagan, Kirk Douglas, Glenn Ford, Robert Mitchum, James Garner, and Jane Fonda. Fame and personal boundaries. Behind the glamour of Hollywood's golden age lurked a darker reality for women like Angie Dickinson. As she found her way through the fame in the 1950s and 60s, she encountered an industry structured to control rather than empower its female stars. Throughout her career, Dickinson developed strategies to maintain her dignity and creative voice within a system that frequently attempted to reduce women to mere commodities. The entertainment industry Dickinson entered was one where male power was deeply entrenched. What audiences celebrated as Hollywood's golden age masked severe gender inequity that reached its lowest point precisely during this celebrated era. According to research analyzing a century of film industry data, women's representation hit rock bottom during this period. From 1910 to 1920, women comprised approximately 40% of acting roles, wrote 20% of movies, produced 12%, and directed 5% of films. However, by 1930, acting opportunities for women had been slashed in half, while producing and directing roles virtually disappeared. This dramatic decline coincided with the consolidation of the studio system, when the industry transformed from diverse independent filmmakers scattered nationwide to just 5 studios: Warner Brothers, Paramount, MGM, Fox, and RKO Pictures, controlling everything from production to distribution. As Northwestern University researcher Luis Amaral observed, as the studio system falls under the control of a small group of men, women are receiving fewer and fewer jobs. Moreover, studios exercised extraordinary control over female stars' personal lives, bodies, and careers. Executives believed they essentially owned their female actresses. This environment created tremendous pressure on women to conform to narrow beauty standards while accepting inequitable pay and working conditions. The studio system encouraged actresses to project a youthful image at all costs. Older female stars would often find themselves playing the love interests of much younger men. As actress Lillian Gish once remarked about her co-star Lionel Barrymore, "Lionel Barrymore first played my grandfather, later my father, and finally he played my husband. If he'd lived, I'm sure I would have played his mother. That's the way it is in Hollywood." This environment took a psychological toll on many actresses. For instance, Clara Bow suffered a nervous breakdown at 28 due to the mounting pressures of Hollywood, the judgmental eyes of the media, and legal troubles. Judy Garland endured forced diets, addiction to pills, and even pressured abortions to maintain her image. Amidst this challenging industry expectation and lifestyle, Dickinson carved her own path. Unlike contemporaries such as Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield, she rejected the platinum blonde sex symbol archetype. She recognized this would limit her acting options and instead opted for a honey blonde shade that allowed for greater versatility. Nonetheless, Dickinson candidly acknowledged her sex symbol status, once remarking, "Are my legs exploited? Well, that's all I have got to sell." This pragmatic approach demonstrated her understanding of industry realities. Still, she drew clear boundaries, particularly disliking scenes in Policewoman where the phone rings while I'm taking a bath. Her 1966 Esquire cover further cemented her iconic status. Posing in nothing but a sweater and pantyhose, she created an image so memorable that when celebrating the magazine's 70th anniversary in 2003, Britney Spears recreated the pose. However, Dickinson maintained control over her image and refused to be defined solely by her physical attributes. Perhaps most remarkably, Dickinson maintained her dignity by fiercely guarding her privacy. In 1989, she returned a 6-figure advance from a major publisher for her autobiography. She similarly refused to discuss rumors about her relationship with President Kennedy. As film critic David Thompson noted, she never talked about it publicly, taken advantage of it, tried to use it to boost her celebrity, or said one word to detract from the dignity of the presidency. This commitment to discretion prompted Frank Sinatra's famous comment about Dickinson, "How wonderful it is to meet a lady who's a gentleman." Her resistance to exploiting personal relationships for publicity set her apart in an industry where such revelations were commonplace. Furthermore, Dickinson rejected the label of feminist despite her groundbreaking achievements. "I never felt the need for feminism," she stated in an interview. "I never felt competition with men, which I really believed started the movement." She viewed her success through a different lens. "When I was up for a role, I didn't compete with men. It was a role for a woman. Her attitude toward pay inequality additionally reflects her independent perspective. Regarding Hollywood's historic pay disparity between men and women, she simply stated, "I was content with what they gave me." This stance, seemingly at odds with modern feminist principles, reveals Dickinson's determination to navigate the industry on her own terms. And guess what? She did. She fought for creative control. Dickinson's most significant battle for creative control came with her role in Police Woman, 1974 to 1978. Although the series made television history with Dickinson as the first female lead in a successful TV drama, she later expressed regret about taking the role. The physical demands were extraordinary, rising at 5 o'clock a.m. and working until midnight on Fridays for 4 years. The grueling schedule left her exhausted, especially while raising a child. In retrospect, she acknowledged, "My mistake was taking Policewoman, because that just wore me out." Beyond the physical toll, Dickinson worried about being typecast. "It marked me in a certain role. I would have been free to take the movies I wanted to take." She specifically cited the show's impact on her marriage to Bert Bacharach, calling it the cement block that landed on our marriage. Even while recognizing Policewoman's cultural impact, inspiring women nationwide to pursue careers in law enforcement, Dickinson maintained a critical perspective on the show's content. "I always felt like our show was too clean," she observed. "Oh, you killed somebody. And it all worked out very nicely, all wrapped up, nice and sweet." Her independence of thought extended to public appearances. In 1993, Dickinson made television history again, but this time by becoming the first person to refuse to participate in This Is Your Life after being ambushed on set. When the show attempted to surprise her with a retrospective featuring people from her past, including Bob Hope, she bluntly refused. "I can't believe this. I won't do This Is Your Life." Years later, explaining her reaction, she simply called it a stupid show, expressing her preference to praise the guests rather than receive adulation herself. This incident perfectly encapsulates Dickinson's determination to control her own narrative and public image. Indeed, when receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Golden Boot Awards in 2006, she again defied convention. That had never happened in the show's history. When asked why she refused to allow the assembled crowd to honor her, she replied, "All these people are supposed to come around and rave about you. I think they should have organized it the other way around, so I could have talked about their importance." Throughout her career, Dickinson maintained a rare combination of self-assurance and humility. Even now, at 93, she receives scripts asking her to do nude scenes, which she finds amusing. "Don't they know I'm an old lady?" This self-deprecating humor, coupled with her unwavering determination to control her career and image, defines her legacy as much as her performances. Consequently, when she reflects on her remarkable journey through Hollywood's most challenging era for women, Dickinson's perspective remains characteristically balanced. "You wish you had done everything differently," she once admitted. Yet simultaneously, she acknowledged, "I've had a great time. Everyone should be so lucky. For me, it's been a wealth of joy." She was loved by millions, but behind the scenes, Angie Dickinson was quietly keeping score. Now, at 93, she's not holding back. 5 men made her life a living nightmare, and she's finally saying their names out loud. Think you know who made her list? It's time to find out. The final name is the one everyone will be talking about. Frank Sinatra, the love that turned toxic. Their romance didn't start with candlelight or roses. It started backstage at a TV show, in true Hollywood fashion. It was 1953 when a young Angie Dickinson, fresh on the scene, appeared on the Colgate Comedy Hour. That's when Frank Sinatra's bodyguard walked up and summoned her to his dressing room. Dickinson later recalled that the very first thing Sinatra said was, "Are you attached?" She admitted she was, and he simply asked, "Shall I take your number?" Despite both being married at the time, Sinatra to Ava Gardner and Angie to Jean Dickinson, she gave him her number. And just like that, a decades-long relationship was set in motion. Their bond, though often off and on, stretched over 20 years. In 2023, Dickinson confirmed the span and significance of their relationship, calling Sinatra the love of my life and one of the most charismatic men that ever was. The chemistry between them was especially evident when they starred together in Ocean's 11 in 1960. That same year, Dickinson divorced her husband. So, what was it about Sinatra that kept pulling her back in? According to Dickinson, just thinking of him made her smile. She described him as extraordinary, a mix of bravery, foolishness, and undeniable talent. But their connection wasn't all warm memories and old Hollywood glamour. Was it truly love, or something more tangled? Dickinson once said bluntly, "He had no respect for me." That kind of comment can't be brushed off lightly. And when asked if he ever truly loved her, Dickinson answered without hesitation, "He never loved me, not the way one loves." Sinatra, she said, loved in his own way. Distant, maybe selfish, but still magnetic. During filming, his controlling nature sometimes showed. One time, after a director asked for a second take, Sinatra simply left. No discussion. He'd had enough. Did they ever think of marriage? Yes, they even came close in 1964. But Dickinson had her doubts. She wasn't eager to take on his all-night lifestyle. She also remembered him once saying, "I'm not going to marry an actress." Her response? "I don't blame you." There was also another quiet reason: her deep admiration for Sinatra's ex-wife, Nancy. Dickinson felt too respectful of her to ever feel comfortable stepping into her shoes. In the end, the man she called her greatest love also made her list of most hated men. Strange? Maybe. But isn't that what complicated love stories often look like? Part magic, part heartbreak. Anthony Hopkins. A clash of strong personalities. Among all the actors Angie Dickinson worked with during her long career, Sir Anthony Hopkins might be the most surprising name on the list of people she couldn't stand. Who would have guessed that someone so highly respected in Hollywood could rub a co-star the wrong way so badly? But according to Dickinson, their time filming the 1980 movie A Change of Seasons was enough to land Hopkins among the top 5 men she despised most in the industry. And that says a lot, especially considering how many actors she's worked with over the decades. Their one and only collaboration came on that film, a romantic comedy that critics and audiences quickly rejected. Hopkins played a middle-aged professor having an affair with a much younger woman, played by Bert Bacharach, while Dickinson portrayed his frustrated wife. Right from the opening scene, a widely criticized hot tub moment with Hopkins and Derek, the film set an awkward tone that it never managed to shake. It flopped at the box office and was panned by critics, with Hopkins even earning a Razzie nomination for Worst Actor that year. Considering that he also starred in the critically praised film The Elephant Man around the same time, it's hard not to wonder, what made him sign on to a project like this? On set, things didn't go smoothly either. People close to the production said there was clear tension between the leads, largely because of how differently they approached their craft. Hopkins, trained in the classical British style, reportedly brought a meticulous, almost rigid energy to the set. Dickinson, on the other hand, was more relaxed, trusting her instincts and years of on-screen experience. Could two such different styles ever really click? Apparently not. Long filming hours and awkward romantic scenes only made matters worse. Their frustration with the project spilled into their working relationship, and what might have stayed as quiet irritation grew into something far more personal. Dickinson later described Hopkins as impossible to work with, frustrated by what she saw as his unwillingness to adapt or meet her halfway. That kind of stubbornness might work in a heavy drama, but in a romantic comedy? Even decades later, Dickinson didn't let it go. That one film, one co-star, and one sour experience were enough to leave a lasting impression. And in the end, it became an unfortunate memory both actors likely wished they could erase. At 93, Angie Dickinson just lit a match and walked away from the explosion. She's naming the 5 men who drove her nuts, and some of them are big names you've definitely heard of. Was it betrayal? Was it ego? Was it something even worse? Stay put, because the last guy she mentions, let's just say you won't see it coming. Bert Bacharach, the husband who abandoned her and their daughter. When Angie Dickinson married composer Bert Bacharach in 1983, many believed they were witnessing Hollywood's golden couple. With her charm and acting legacy and his soaring musical career, it all looked like a match made in star-studded heaven. But what happens when the cameras stop flashing and real life creeps in? According to those close to them, behind the scenes, it wasn't so rosy. Their romance, which began in 1964, quickly turned serious and led to a Vegas wedding the following year. Angie was just easing off her acting highs while Bert was climbing rapidly to the top of the music charts. At first, they seemed perfectly matched. But even Angie would later say that the magic only lasted a week, and then things were just good for the next decade. That's not a great sign, is it? Bert himself admitted he started thinking about divorce just 9 months in. Why? He'd already had a few affairs, something he confessed without much remorse. Angie, meanwhile, discovered his infidelities through the tabloids. Imagine reading about your husband's cheating in the paper. She was heartbroken, but she still held on. Why didn't she leave? She once said she was crazy about him and couldn't let go, even years after they divorced. And since he was Nikki's father, he was always going to be part of her life. Things took a dramatic turn in 1966 when Angie got pregnant. What should have been a happy chapter became terrifying. Her water broke months early, and baby Nikki was born severely premature. Weighing less than 2 pounds, no one expected her to survive. But she did. And Angie, fully devoted, made the difficult choice to slow her career and raise Nikki herself. Bert, on the other hand, he slowly distanced himself. Despite Angie's love and sacrifice, the marriage slowly crumbled. When she landed the lead in Policewoman, a groundbreaking role, Bert encouraged it, then resented it. As her star rose, his dimmed and tension followed. By 1976, they were living separately. And even though Angie still called herself married to Bert, their love was long gone. In the end, she confessed what many had suspected. He never truly loved her in the way she loved him. He had his own way of loving, one that left her feeling dismissed, disrespected, and ultimately abandoned. Johnny Carson, the friend who publicly humiliated her. For many viewers, Johnny Carson is remembered as the charming host who ruled late-night television with a mix of humor and charisma. But for Angie Dickinson, his name brings back something much more personal and far less cheerful. Their connection went beyond just clever banter on The Tonight Show. At one time, they were close, even romantically involved, though the details of their relationship were mostly kept private. Still, something changed along the way, and Dickinson never forgot it. She had been a favorite guest of Carson's, and the audience adored their playful back and forth. Who could forget the moment when Carson asked her whether she dressed for men or for women? And Dickinson, without missing a beat, replied, "I dress for women. I undress for men." It was the kind of sharp, cheeky line that made headlines and showed just how much spark there was between them. So, what went wrong? Behind the smiles and witty exchanges, Dickinson later hinted at a deeper tension. They had dated briefly, but when asked who ended things, she simply said, "Things happen." It wasn't just the end of a romance, it was, in her eyes, the beginning of a subtle but lasting shift in how Carson treated her publicly and professionally. Could someone like Johnny Carson, with all his power in the entertainment world, really hold a grudge? Dickinson seemed to think so. She noticed how her name quietly slipped from conversations, opportunities, and even nominations. Nothing was said outright. But then again, wasn't that the most effective kind of silence? She once remarked that no matter how many partners they went through, there would always be something between her and Johnny. But was that attraction mutual or one-sided? And if it lingered, why did it seem to do more harm than good? Dickinson never publicly accused Carson of sabotaging her, but those close to her noted how the disappointment stayed with her. Angie Dickinson is out here naming names like she's got nothing to lose. And honestly, she doesn't. These 5 men crossed a line, and now she's crossing theirs. But the question is, what did they do to deserve her hate? Watch till the end, because the juiciest name is saved for last. Larry King, the obsessive partner who controlled her life. Among the many influential men who crossed paths with Angie Dickinson, Larry King left a mark that was less obvious but far more damaging than others. Unlike the typical stories of high-profile romances with men who dazzled with power and charisma, her time with King was shaped more by subtle emotional control than by Hollywood clout. Their relationship began during a fragile time in Dickinson's life when she was searching for stability. King seemed like a good man, attentive, thoughtful, and deeply interested in what she had to say. Wasn't that what she had always wanted? Someone who listened and cared? But behind that charm lay something she didn't see coming. Larry King, known to the world as the voice behind countless revealing interviews, had a complicated relationship history himself. He had married multiple times, often moving from intense affection to cold detachment. In one of his columns, he even spoke about giving love a second chance, making it sound romantic and wise. But as Dickinson would later realize, those words masked a deeper pattern. His reflections after a heart attack might have sounded heartfelt. He claimed it made him rethink his values, but his actions suggested those values rarely extended to his partners. Friends noticed something was off. Dickinson, once lively and social, started stepping back from the people and routines that mattered to her. Was it a coincidence? Or was King's influence slowly cutting her off from the world? His controlling behavior wasn't loud or obvious. He simply needed to know where she was all the time. He frowned at certain friends. He made comparisons that left her second-guessing herself. And in public, he often spoke over her, making her feel small in her own life. Even their schedules clashed. His late-night lifestyle wore her down, and when she voiced concerns, he'd brush them off or respond with over-the-top emotion, making her feel guilty for even speaking up. It became easier to stay quiet than to confront him. But the final blow came during a casual conversation, when he said something that made it painfully clear he didn't truly understand her. Not her values, not her hopes, not even her love for family. Years later, Dickinson looked back and saw it clearly. This wasn't love, not really. It was a slow erosion of her self-worth, hidden behind sweet words and a familiar face on TV. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.